host, Eric Miscoll with EMSNOW at the show floor, IPC APEX 2025 at the Creative Electron booth. We should give them a shout out for being our host here today. Joining me today is somebody I don't know I've ever interviewed you. You've been on a webinar with me, but never an actual interview.
No, right? I don't think so. Just a podcast or two or a webinar.
Exactly. So this is Jeremy Vanselous. He's with the SearchWorks Group.
SearchWorks Group.
I'm not sure what your official title is there, so I'll be careful.
I'm the president of it.
There he is. He's the president of the SearchWorks Group. Why don't you start by telling us what you do?
Yeah, so the SearchWorks Group has, we're an executive search firm, and we specialize in the electronic manufacturing industry as a whole. We've been supporting the industry for 17 years now. Most of that has been within the EMS part of the industry. Until just recently, we've started to expand into the adjacent markets surrounding EMS. So we're going to take our expertise that we've built over the years in EMS, continue to support those clients in that piece of industry while we start to move into PCB, interconnect, distribution, and other adjoining markets to the EMS space.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So what are you seeing in the market? What are the trends? It's been an interesting time, so it's always good to hear perspective here.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it is an interesting time. I would say up until a few months ago, there was just tremendous momentum, certainly in North America, right? We've got a lot of companies, foreign companies and domestic companies looking to increase capacity here, add to their footprint. So a lot of demand on the talent side of things. It's gotten a little quiet in recent weeks. Not so much actually from the client side, where the demand side is still sort of there. When I say it's gotten a little quiet, I'm starting to sense like a little bit of not hesitancy, but caution on the candidate side of the equation, right? So there's a sense of uncertainty kind of going on right now, and we're just trying to help our clients work through that while we get out there and identify good talent for them.
That's interesting. Is it what they're just not sure if it's kind of ride it out a bit and make sure it's a good move?
I think exactly, Eric. Yeah, I mean, if I put myself in their shoes, right, and you feel this little bit of uncertainty, then your confidence in making a big career transition can be a little lower. But that's where we're able, we'll help them kind of go through that thought process. And obviously, when we're recruiting for our clients, we want to make sure that if we're taking somebody and asking them to change their lives, that we're putting them into a place that is going to be comfortable, right. And long term for them, and ultimately just take good care of them. Yeah.
So what I always think that people are looking for salespeople all the time, right? Sales, business development within that. But what are the type of roles that you're seeing?
Sales is very kind of dominant right now. I would say in a typical year, maybe 30% of all of our work would be in the sales discipline, and then that other percentage is made up of operations and engineering and supply chain and quality. Today, a good 50 to 60% of my pipeline is sales, right? So it's about doubled. So I think a lot of companies are investing in putting salespeople in the field. Yeah.
Follow up on what you said, your pipeline. How big is SearchWorks Group? How many people are involved in that?
So yeah, we've got 4 people, right? We're a very small boutique, I would call it niched firm, but because of our expertise and the amount of time that we've dedicated to this industry, we can get an awful lot done very fast with 4 people.
So what's your advice for companies, for leaders that are out there, in this environment as they're doing that? What kind of advice would you offer?
Really good question, because if I were a leader of a manufacturing company, I would be number one protecting my people, right? So I would be focusing
from people like you.
Yeah, right, exactly, right, or really just any change in the business environment, right? So I would really be focusing on retention. understanding what motivates my people, understanding what they like and appreciate in terms of reward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give them a good home, right, to work in, where they're respected and where they're appreciated. I would take really good care of my people. Secondly, if I didn't have a really well-defined succession plan at the higher ranks of my company, I would really be investing in that right now, because as the market, strengthens again or becomes a little bit more stable, we're going to continue to see the sort of flow or exodus of the boomer generation out of the industry, right? Which it's very heavy, which brings us kind of to the generational gap that exists in the entire industry everywhere. So I would say succession planning is a big one. And then third, if I were a manufacturer and I were going out to attract talent, I would make sure that I have consensus internally among all of my decision makers. Meaning, make sure you get yourself all on the same page first before going out and exercising the market or exercising your partners with something you're not really sure what you need. So really define your needs well, get consensus internally, and then once you kind of pull the trigger to go make that change, have a very sort of decisive process, ready to go through that hiring process.
Generally speaking, how fast you get an assignment, somebody says, Jeremy, help me with this?
Yeah, it's actually, thank you for asking that, because on average, it takes us 2.4 weeks to present the candidate who will ultimately get hired by our client.
Okay.
So that's fairly quick. And then on average, it takes about 7.2 weeks from start to finish, meaning we begin our search and someone is in the seat.
Okay.
About 7 weeks, which I think is pretty swift.
No, that sounds like it.
But I think what enables us to do that is, again, it's just this time that we've spent in the industry and the relationships that we've developed over these years. We call it talent access, right? Finding people nowadays is really easy. You've got a LinkedIn, I've got a LinkedIn. We know how to throw in some criteria and find some people, but actually getting them to lift their head up and listen, that's the trick, But those are, that's about how fast we can pull it off.
I was going to say, though, I remember you just reminded me on LinkedIn a couple of years ago, you gave me a tutorial on how to do a search on LinkedIn.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I would just say, you have gold status, I have lead status.
Right.
My capability there is not as good. I was even writing it down, saying, this is amazing, because it really is. What a powerful tool that becomes.
It can be, yeah. I mean, and that takes us kind of into another interesting topic, which is sort of the technology that's, we've got AI coming in, and, everybody wants to automate everything, which I'm a fan of, right, when it makes sense. But, when people are a part of your equation, your AI is your tool, right? It may create some efficiency, it may create some speed, but it's never going to do, for example, what we do, because it's a very human business, that we're in. So I love the tools, right? And they do help us do our job faster, but what it does is it gets us to the conversation faster.
I see. And that brings to a good point here. What is kind of the state of the executive search industry here in 2025?
I mean, I would say it's certainly in manufacturing, I think it's very healthy. If you think about what's going on in the industry as a whole, right? I mentioned the sort of exodus, right? It's going to be like 30,000 people a month for the next 9 years are going to be leaving just the manufacturing industry.
Jeez.
Right. And then Forbes did a study, I think, recently that said, over the next 6 years, if our demand remains and things don't go the wrong way, that, another 30,000 jobs a month, new jobs are going to be created because of the expansion of the industry. So you're talking like a net 90,000, type of demand with kind of a shrinking people market, right? It not shrinking, but we have like a generation or two missing that we need to backfill, and that just takes time, right? So I think in the current state of things, it could take us at least another 5 to 8 years to even start closing that generational gap.
Right.
And in the meantime, you're competing. So as you compete, it brings me back to kind of some of the things I was suggesting you do to kind of protect and prepare, for the future.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Audrey yesterday. Audrey
good.
McGuckin.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things we touched on. One of her B's is bind, right? Which is the retention piece, right?
Yes.
Have those, but she stressed too, and I meant to follow up with you that that's not saying have the HR person go do it. The leaders need to do that with their people. Is that kind of what,
absolutely? Yeah, the direct report, the direct line of
you
management.
need to be doing it. So you don't outsource this to your HR.
You've heard it. Everybody's heard it, right?
Yeah.
People don't quit companies; they quit bosses,
Exactly
right? So
right.
You've got to have really good relationships with your people.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Jeremy, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Go to the website?
Oh, sure. Our website is www.searchworksgroup.com.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm all over LinkedIn.
Yes,
I'm really just a click away, and all my contact information is on my profile.
Yeah.
And then I welcome people to reach out anytime.
Good.
Yeah. Any way I can help, we're going to help.
Good. No. I appreciate that. He's a good one, and I certainly appreciate the chance to catch up. Let's do this again sometime. It's been a long time. So
I know. It's great to see you. Yeah, and I appreciate it.
Good. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Eric.